catch myself, help me out. Had my bed, then you let go. I'm fighting with that too. I'm standing alone. Just like that, you left me cold. I guess at the end of the day, it's just me and my phone.
Welcome back to Queen's Mindset. If this is your first time joining us, welcome, welcome, welcome. We are super excited to have you here with us tonight, yet again, as we continue our series on Battered Bruised, Not Broken, Season 5. Oh my goodness, guys, it keeps getting better because we have again another powerful, phenomenal woman in the room who is going to share her story with us tonight. And I can't wait. I know you can't wait as well. But before I introduce her to you, if you have not done it already, I want to go right ahead and just hit the subscribe button just down below and make sure that you are subscribed to our channel so that you can be kept abreast on all of our videos. All right, so let's head right into it. Welcome, welcome, welcome Dr. Karron. How are you?
I am doing fine. Thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me to be a guest.
You are most welcome. It's a pleasure to have you with us tonight. So I know everybody's on the edge of their seat and they want to know what is her story because we keep getting really phenomenal stories, right? But before we get into it, I want you to start by telling us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Okay. I am Dr. Karron Dodd, also known as Dr. Ruby Girl or your favorite Ruby Girl. I prefer your favorite Ruby Girl. It makes me feel special. I am the Chief Executive Officer of His Designs LLC. I'm a talk show host, motivational speaker, and a coach, a confidence coach. And the creator, the best thing of all, and the creator of the Ruby Girl brand, which comes from Proverbs 31 and 10. Who can find a virtuous woman for her price is far above the price of a ruby. So to connect with me, rubygirl.net.
All right now. Wow. I just love how all of you phenomenal ladies, you come and you share and you say, I do this, I do that. And it seems like, okay, it's just two things, but it's so many things. Where do you find the time to do all of that stuff?
It's just natural.
Yeah.
When it's your gift, you just flow into it. And you just have to break time down in little increments and not try to do everything at once, which I tried to do, but I learned rest can be your best friend.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I like that you said that. Rest indeed. Rest indeed. So guys, we've heard a little bit about her, and I know she's gonna tell you her story. We're gonna get to it just now. So tell us about your story. Tell us where it all started for you. Let's begin from the beginning.
Okay. I always like to start when I'm at the age of 3. And so the age of 3 sticks in my mind so vividly because at the age of 3, I was molested. But the type of molestation that I went through, it wasn't violent at all. This person groomed me to make me feel like that it was okay and that it was something that naturally happened. So let me just back up a little bit. I was outside playing one day and I heard something in the bushes. I went in the bushes and I discovered that it was a bunch of adults and they were actually hooking up, having sex back there in this wooded area. So I'm 3, I don't know. And so I asked what was going on. And so this guy decided to answer my question by a demonstration of what was going on. But he told me don't tell anybody, and I didn't think it was anything wrong with it, because it didn't feel bad to me or anything like that, and he made it seem like this is just something that's normal. So I never told anyone until I was an adult. So I kept this little dirty secret inside of me, and throughout my life I've been molested several times. And so I just thought it was just something normal, and it led me to have a spirit of perversion even at a young age. I gravitated towards posters of men that were half naked and ordering adult products and stuff. Because when I was growing up, way back then, I ain't gonna tell y'all how way back, but you know, it was easy. You get a mail order catalog, you just order from that, and so yes, I suffered from sexual abuse, but not only sexual abuse, I was bullied in school until the age of 14, to the point that I just literally hated myself. I hated myself. I hated my life. And then eventually I moved up here to Detroit where things got better. So I thought. I ended up being locked in the house for 4 years. I was made to take care of my grandmother. I was not allowed to go anywhere but just to school. And my family literally had to beg for my auntie to let me out on the weekends. And she was pretty emotional abusive. So it's like I went from the frying pan to the inferno, but I survived.
Wow. Listen, let's take a pin right here because you have shared quite a lot with that, from the age of 3. So here you are, you got to the bush and you saw them. Was it opposite genders, or was it both? Was it same sex? Who was that?
It was opposite
Okay.
genders. Yeah.
So when the individual did that, which you didn't understand, like you explained, obviously you're too young to even understand. What did the woman do? Did she just stand and allow him to do that?
Well, first she told him to leave me alone,
Okay.
and he kind of pushed her off. And she didn't try to fight. She didn't try to grab me or anything like that. She kind of just like walked away. And even though it was a bunch of adults there, nobody came to my rescue.
Wow. So, okay, let me make sure I understand. So there are
Mhm.
two of them in the bushes, but there were adults that were also in the bush as well, or they were just in the area?
It was a bunch of adults just having sex. I don't know what kind of spot it was because I lived in Mississippi at the time. So we lived near the woods. Well, we lived in town, but near a wooded area. And I guess that was just a spot where people just went and just had sex.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. If it's for them to see you at such a young, tender age, 3 years old, and anyone seeing him and not saying anything, that's just crazy. But we just really want to thank God for delivering you. So let's
Yes.
speed up now. So now that has occurred. You didn't know it was anything wrong because you thought it was okay, but then you said it happened again. What was the next age when that occurred again?
So it happened when I was 4. So my father watched me during the day and he would sleep because he worked at night. So I would sneak out, and I would go out, and that's how I ended up in the bush. So I guess my father figured out that he couldn't really watch me. And so he sent me to the neighbor's house for to babysit me, but their son molested me. So once again, I came out of the frying pan and I got into the inferno. And I did not know for years I had unforgiveness towards my father until I was going through deliverance. And I had always thought my unforgiveness was because of what had happened between my mother and father. Because I had always been told that my father had killed my mom when I was like about 4 years old. So I had a lot to happen to me between 3 and 4. And so I found out that wasn't it at all. What it was, I was angry at my father because I felt like he didn't protect me. Now, he didn't know. I felt like if he had watched me better, I never would have wandered out of the house and got molested. And then for him to turn around and send me to the neighbors and they did the same thing to me, it really, I had a knot of unforgiveness in me, not knowing it was even there.
Mean, that's a lot. That's a lot for anyone to have to deal with. And then on top of that, as you shared, you're 4 years old and now this thing is happening yet again. And it's not just happening, but it's not happening to someone that you're familiar with now, because you
Yes.
were familiar with the next door neighbor, right?
Yes.
So when that occurred, did you tell anyone at the age of 4, or did you still think that was okay?
I knew that for some reason I did not like it. I knew it was wrong. And so I remember when it happened, after it happened, I ran home and I climbed up the chair and I reached in the mailbox and got the key and let myself in the house and I locked myself in. So when my father and my mother came home, I was locked in the house and they couldn't understand what was going on. So from what I remember, I don't think they sent me back to the neighbors anymore to babysit. I think they understood that something happens for the fact for me to not want to go back and for me to lock myself in the house. But I never, like I said, I never shared that I was molested until I was grown.
Wow, wow, wow. Okay, so that's your second encounter. And then after the age of 4, you said, did it happen again? Or is that where it ended?
Yes, it did. It happened with a cousin of mine.
Wow. And at what age were you at that point?
I probably was about, I would say 6 or 7 when that happened.
Mhm. So,
Yes.
so this is someone now that you are, consistently around. This is family now. And that happened again. Did it happen while you were in the care of your dad, or was it when you were in the care of your mom?
Neither one, because my mother had passed away when I was 4,
Okay.
and my father, my family had believed that my father had actually killed my mom. So I grew up without my mother or my father. And so I was staying with my great grandmother, and I happened to be out of town. And the cousin, we were in the other room, and it was family around and everything, but nobody thought anything strange of me being in the bedroom with the door closed with him. They thought we were just watching TV.
Oh my goodness. Wow. It's just crazy how these things can happen, and I hope you guys are really taking notes. Go ahead, share this link with a friend, get your friend on this line so that they can watch, especially mothers with children. You want to be able to come and hear and learn, because when you think that everything is okay, you are not sure what is happening. And so I really want you to share this link. Make sure you guys are commenting below, because we want to hear from you. And Karron, thank you so much for being so transparent, and sharing this, because I know this is it's just an intimate thing to share, and most people would not be open enough to want to share. So I really want to thank you for your bravery, your courage, to want to share, because I'm certain that some woman out there right now that's watching this, they are receiving it and they're getting the help that they need, so that they cannot find themselves in this position that you would have been, at no fault of yours, but they were able to now safeguard things that need to be safeguarded. So thank you, thank you. So no, you're saying, okay, so at the age of 6, here comes the cousin. So this is the third time now that this thing is happening again. Your mom had passed. But before we go on to that, let's go back. So when you said your mom passed away at the age of 4, was she sick? How did she die?
So, um, my mom and my dad had a violent relationship. And I remember sitting down and they're fighting and stuff. And I just learned to be independent. And because of that fighting and independence, when I heard the noise when I was 3 years old in the woods, I didn't run to my father. I decided to go find out for myself. And so my father had stabbed my mom. And so my mom left and she went away, and my father followed her, and they had another violent encounter. And then he talked her into going to Chicago, and then they found my mom dead. So for years, I had always believed my father had killed my mom. I had a conversation with him, and I even told him I forgave him, and he told me, he didn't kill my mom, but really I wasn't there, so I had to just take his word for it. But think about it, from 3 to, I would say, until about 50 years, I would say that I have always known or thought that my father killed my mom. It wasn't until July the 5th that I found out what my mom actually died from. She died from her heart. She had some kind of issue with her heart, and she passed away, and that's what my father told me happened. But of course, think about it, it's been about 40 some years, 50 years, I've been told something else. And it wasn't until I saw the death certificate that I knew that what he had told me was true. So I just basically went my whole life believing a lie.
Wow. That's just, and because of that, no, that's where you got all the anger and your unforgiveness towards him, because you're thinking, me, my mom is my pride and joy, and you're thinking my dad took her away from me, I didn't have anyone. So now that you found that out, were you able, or even before you were able to find that out, were you able to forgive him before, or were you able to only forgive him after you found out the truth?
I forgave him before. I had a conversation with him because after I found my father when I was 30. about 33 when I got saved. The Lord was like, go find your father. And so eventually one day I built up the courage to say, Dad, I need to have this conversation with you. And so when he told me that he was with her when she passed away and how it happened, and I'm thinking about what I had been told that there was trauma, neck broke, and all this stuff. And I was like, well, that don't sound like somebody died like what he said she died. But I told him it was between him and God, and I had to forgive him because I had to honor my parent. And because I used to do deliverance and I knew that you will be stuck with your demons if you had unforgiveness towards your father, I had to forgive my father.
Wow, wow. And that was a very brave thing to do because, from so young, because now you have so many things that you would have attached to it. Because you obviously, based on what you shared, the fact that the next door neighbor did what he did, you somewhat, blamed your dad for not being as protective as he should have, different situations. So that was a lot for you to be able to, to just release and let go. And I want to say, I'm very proud of you for being able to forgive, because most times we think that forgiveness is for the next person, but it's really for us, because what we're doing, we're keeping ourselves in a prison that nobody sent us. We're watching everything pass by, and we're the ones who are struggling. We're the ones who are having the real challenge there, because many times that individual is moving on with their lives. They've gotten past it, but we're still stuck by holding on to this thing that is not getting us anywhere. So if you're watching tonight and unforgiveness is something that you're struggling with, I want to be encouraged by Dr. Karron's story, as she's been able to forgive her dad. And it might not be your dad for you. It might very well be a sister, it might be a friend, it might be a colleague, it might be someone else, your husband, you never know. But just make yourself come to that place so you're able to let go and just let God. Forgive them, not for you, not for them, but for you, so that you can experience that freedom. So Dr. Karron, so now we're here. Now we found out that you've been able to forgive your dad, and you've been able then to move past that. During the period up before you had gotten baptized and accepted God and became a Christian, who was your support? Who was your support during that time? Who did you have there outside of God, of course, to rely on?
Well, before then, I really didn't have anybody. My family, like my auntie, my cousins that I grew up with, I kind of relied on them, but they didn't live in the same state that I did. So basically, I kind of like was self-sufficient. It wasn't until just before I got saved that I had met my godmom, and that's when the support came in. That's when I started being surrounded by women of God, women of strength, and they spoke life into me. They helped me with my mental issues. They were very patient with me. They groomed me into being a Christian woman. And before then, I was kind of like on my own.
Wow, we thank God for great women, and to be able to come
Yes.
and hold you and to lift you up. So now you had those persons who were able to groom you and help you to deal with that mental health issue. Was it difficult for you to be able to identify or to accept that, hey, I have a problem, something is wrong? Was that difficult for you?
I always knew something was off about me. I knew I had some major issues that I was dealing with. I had I would say social anxiety. I had that from being locked in the house for like 4 years and then being isolated when I was younger in the country. So I was an introvert. And so I was always nervous around people. Nobody really knew this, and I was standoffish from people. I had to assess you because I had in my mind that eventually you was going to betray me because I had been betrayed so much. My heart had been broken. I was damaged, really damaged. But I found out when I began to share my story of what had happened to me, when I began to speak my truth, that's when the enemy no longer had that shame, that condemnation. Because when you're hiding something inside from everybody else, it's so hard to hide it. But when you release it, now you spoke your truth and you like judge me if you want to, but this is my truth. So once I started sharing my story with everybody, it's like it freed me. It helped me with some of the mental issues. I couldn't understand why I was thinking this way, but once I talked to people, then they could begin to explain to me, this is why you're feeling this way. And they began began to speak life into me because I had so much guilt that why at 3 years old didn't it hurt me to go through that experience. I've heard people say, "Oh my God, when they raped me, molested me, it hurt me. I cried." And I was like, I didn't have any pain. So I felt guilty about that. A friend took me and she pointed at her 3-year-old niece. She said, "Do she look like somebody that would enjoy having sex with an adult?" And for me, it became my reality that I could see that 3-year-old that no, she would not. And then when I eventually did go to a therapist, she reframed it for me. She said, that person groomed you. She said, some people are raped when they were molested. She said, that person groomed you. And now that I think about it, he didn't want me to go home and tell it. So if it didn't hurt, if it didn't abuse me, I would think it was okay.
That's very sick. Wow. It's,
Yes.
there's some really crazy people out there, Wow, that's just, that's just crazy to believe that something like that is happening. And it happened and it is still happening because there's so many other people out there with similar stories, of how they would have encountered this. So now you got that opportunity to you be able to accept and identify, hey, I have some challenges and I need to get some help with this. So now you passed the age of 6. Did any other molestations happen after that age, or is that where it ended?
It ended at the age of 6.
Okay, good, good. So
Yeah.
now it has ended. You got to the age of 32 and you got you're baptized, you're building your relationship with God, going through your deliverance and understanding all of these things. Now tell us about, how this journey was able now to unfold for you as now you're recognizing, oh my goodness, that was wrong. This should have happened. How were you able to deal with those things that were coming out as you went through your process of deliverance?
God. That's all I can say. It was God. God was delivering me. God was speaking to me because, of course, I had to ask the question, why? Why, God, did this happen to me? I know you could have stopped it. You could have made the circumstances where I went in the house, it could have been avoided. And then God just spoke to me. He was like, you made it through. He said, you could have been with a molester that killed you. It's children that's been molested and died. And I found out through that pain, that's where my purpose was. I eventually, believe it or not, got to the point that I was thinking about what had happened to me. And I actually said, Lord, I thank you. I said, because of what happened to me, I have compassion and empathy towards people that's going through the same. I say, now I have the opportunity to be the voice of women that can't, that won't voice it, that won't speak their pain. And now I have the opportunity to encourage these women to show them you can make it through. And it might be a little girl out there just like me that was hurt and wounded and was looking for somebody to see her pain, to address her pain, and to rescue her. But that person never came. So I want to be that person to that little girl that was like me one time, that they'll look up and look on TV and say, wait a minute, her story sounds like mine, but she looked like she overcame it. And if she can overcome it, I can too.
Well said, well said. I love that. I love that. I love that. If she can overcome it, I can
Yeah.
too. I hope you guys are being encouraged. Please share this link with a friend, get someone on the line so they can watch us, and then comment below. Let us know what you're thinking. Let us know what you're thinking, and make sure you're subscribed to this channel. Make sure you're subscribed. So, okay, so now you've got that. It built you. You understood the reason why it had to occur because he has groomed you into the woman that you are today, a very phenomenal and powerful woman, to be able to share your story and help other women. So now you have gotten to this stage, looking back at everything that you've been through. Is there anything that you would have done differently?
I would have got therapy earlier. I definitely would have got therapy. Therapy helped me to see better what had occurred to me. And it helped me, the lies that were in my mind. Therapy actually cleared up a lot of those lies and allowed me to see the truth. Because I was looking through the lens of my pain, what had happened to me. And that's what happens when you're sexually abused because the power for you to say yes has been taken away from you. So you don't know how to deny a person anything. And so through therapy, it helped me out so much. And then number two, I wish I had found God sooner. I really wish I had got up under his wings of protection and healing, because I felt so alone out there. Nobody understood me. God allowed this to happen to me, not understanding that the God of this world, this is his world. And because of the fallen nature, we gave control of this world to Satan. And so we can't expect God to interfere on every single thing. We're not in heaven. So bad things happen to good people.
That's true. That's very true. So as you were dealing with, before you were able to get to your healing, did you got pregnant in that process? What happened where, because I know you mentioned a bit that, because of what had occurred, you became a bit promiscuous. So did you got pregnant at a young age or anything like that?
No, I don't have any kids. I didn't. I went through a lot of bad relationships of compromising and just going through some things that, if I do believe, if I was not molested, I would have been a little bit wiser. I had attached no value to my body. And that's why my brand Ruby Girl is so important to me, because it lets women know how valuable they are. That I didn't know my value. I didn't know my worth. I hadn't attached myself to Proverbs 31 and 10. I didn't know anything about being virtuous or even being a virgin. I was only a virgin for 3 years. And then I didn't even have a choice in it. So I felt like my body was just to be given away, to be taken, to abuse. But it wasn't until I got saved that I realized my worth and my value.
Wow. That's really powerful to those women out there who are watching right now, and you don't know that you are worthy. Most times you feel worthless because of circumstances and situations that would have occurred in your life. And I want to encourage you tonight. If you're watching tonight and you feel as though you're worthless, I want to tell you, you are worthy. You are worthy. You're only feeling worthless because you are worthy, because that's what the enemy does. He likes to trick us. He tells you that you are not, and when he says you are not, it's because you are. He just doesn't want you to be able to discover who you are. So I want you to be encouraged tonight that you are worthy and you matter. You matter. You matter. No matter what is happening, no matter what you've been through, no matter what you've done, there's nothing that you can possibly have done that would turn God away from you. He still is going to love you. It doesn't matter if you committed murder. It does not matter. He still loves you and he still cares for you. So I want you to be encouraged in that. So no, Dr. Karron, no, you've been there. I know you've created this beautiful brand. You talked about, Ruby Girl and everything. So tell us about Ruby Girl, what it means, what are some of the great things that you're doing out there, and how it has been able to take off this far.
I absolutely love talking about the brand Ruby Girl. I get excited about it because I understand that it's a movement. It's a movement to restore the respect to women, to let women know their value and their worth, because it's the world tears us down so much. We're like almost valued as like a second class citizen when God made us his last creation on earth. When we hit this earth, everything was ready for us. We didn't have a need. We were created to meet a need, and that was Adam need. So we're special. We didn't come out of the dust. We came up out of the flesh. So we are God's last special creation. And for him to put in Proverbs 31 and 10 our worth and our value, and to give us an example of how we should be in Proverbs 31, that Proverbs 31 woman, how we can be. See, she does not have a name, because why? Because she's you. She's me. And so you can do everything that Proverbs 31 woman did. Even you do half or one verse of what she has done in there, taking care of your household, owning property, taking care of the servants. Who gets up and feed their servants in the morning? Nobody but that Proverbs and 31 woman. She was respected in the gate. She was so respected that her husband was reverenced because of her. She was what you call, as we say, a good woman. I wouldn't say good, she was a better woman. So my brand Ruby Girl is to help people inspire each other, to help women heads be lifted up. So it's more than a t-shirt. It's a brand, meaning that you have branded yourself as God's Ruby Girl, his priceless princess. It means that you know that you are royalty. So that's why it's important to go to rubygirl.net, get your t-shirt. I call it the Ruby Girl uniform. Now you're representing who you truly are in Christ. And it creates a conversation. I can't tell you how many times I've been out, Miss King, and people have been like, "What's a Ruby Girl?" And that opens the door for me to witness to somebody and start off with Proverbs 31 and 10. And what amazes me, people don't really know that verse anymore. That used to be our theme every Women's Day in the Baptist church.
Wow. Wow. I love it. I love it. I love it. So you have been doing a lot of outreach programs and stuff. Have you been doing like conferences as well?
Oh, yes.
Mhm.
I'm so excited about the brand. So I have started this coaching program. It's called Time to Sass. Sass means stop always settling, sis. I see so many women settling for less than God's best in their health, in their finances, and especially in relationships. So I want to help women go for God's best. I want to help women to go for everything that God has given them. And then also I've spoken at conferences, and my brand has went international. It's in Antigua, it's in London, and a few other places. So I'm out here speaking to women, speaking life into them, and letting them know their worth and their value. And also, I got a talk show every Tuesday.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. You see, look what the Lord has done,
Yes.
Like everything that you've been through, it is all a part of you. It has groomed you to the place now where you're able to become such an impact. And not only an impact, but you're able to leave an imprint on the lives of women, who would have gone through various situations as you've done too as well. And with your wisdom, with your experience now, you can help pull them out from a place where you would have been before, because it's easy for you to identify it because you experienced it, and I think that's very amazing. So congratulations to you on your brand and doing all these phenomenal work in the community. Is just phenomenal, 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 phenomenal. So
Thank you.
you are welcome. So Dr. Karron, if you had to talk to a woman, if there was a woman right now, she's watching and she's saying to herself, "Oh my goodness, I can relate to everything that you're saying because it happened to me." What would be your words of encouragement to that woman that is watching right now? What would you say to her?
I would say your value has not decreased because of what you've been through. I have this shoe around my neck because it means step out of your pain and step into your purpose, because your pain is your purpose. You're not just going through this so that you can be hurt, so that you can be battered, so that you can be bruised. Not at all. I want you to know that you might be battered, but guess what? You didn't break. Bruises heal faster than broken bones. You might have been hit really, really hard and you splintered, but you still didn't break. But I want you to seek God for healing. Fast if you have to, because with fasting, some of those demons don't come out unless you fast and you pray, and surround yourself with people that's going to help you heal. Because as long as you stay around people that's toxic, you're going to always deal with that trauma that happened to you. Forgive yourself. It was not your fault at all. It was the person that did that to you. For years, as I said, I carried around the guilt of something that a 3-year old couldn't even stop, that a 3-year old didn't even know what was happening to them. But I had to release that. And once again, once you find your purpose in your pain and you put a voice to it, it'll no longer keep you in shame and condemnation. You're going to walk in that freedom. Speak your truth. Speak it. I don't care if your family get angry. I don't care if people don't agree. I don't care if people judge you. Speak your truth, because the enemy wants you to be silent about what happened to you. As long as you keep it quiet, it's always going to be trauma. But once you release it, it's going to be healing for somebody else. And no, God didn't leave you. God didn't forsake you. God is seeking you so that he can use that pain for his purpose.
Well said, well said. I told you guys it was going to be great. It was going to be phenomenal. I know you're enjoying this so much. So I have to ask a question. I know we're getting ready to close shortly, but I have to ask, at any time with everything that you went through, did you ever felt like giving up? Did you ever felt like, oh my goodness, I don't deserve to live. I can't take this anymore.
Yes. I've tried suicide multiple times. Um, when I was younger, I had tried because I remember coming home, kids picking with me. I'm looking around my house. We were poor. I had the raggedest house on the school bus line, and I just didn't fit in anywhere. And I took some pills. Took some pills. Pills didn't work. Didn't even make me sick. I took aspirins. I think I took 8 aspirins. And then one time when I was an adult, things got overwhelming for me, and I took some pills. The only thing I ended up was creating a little ulcer for myself. But now, when I feel like I'm not worthy, I remember what God says in Proverbs 31:10. I remember how God first created woman. And so, yes, I felt like giving up. But guess what? I understand there's too many souls attached to my testimony that I can't give up.
Wow, that's powerful. I love that. Too many souls are attached to your testimony. So, guys, I hope you're feeling empowered by that. So you don't get to give up because there are too many souls that are attached to your testimony. So you can't give up because they're waiting on you. And it's found that, that's so phenomenal that even though you would have tried, because it wasn't your time, and God didn't say you can get to go, that no matter what you tried, that you still live because you were called for something greater. You were called to make an impact and to reach millions of people, millions of women, and people out there who are really struggling with various situations in their lives. So I am just grateful that God did not give up on you, and then you did not give up on yourself. Because we would have met today and you wouldn't have been able to share with our community tonight. And I just want to say, I just want to thank God for that. I really want to thank God for that. So now we've gone through that, you've able to overcome. Tell us about the family situation now. So because you said you were staying with your great grandmom, and so was it only your great grandmom, or did you leave from your great grandmom then I went to your grandmother? How did that process work as you were growing up?
So after my mom died, I ended up with my great grandmother because my grandmother died having my mom. So my mom never met her mother. And of course, I never met my grandmother. And so they felt if they took me away from my great grandmother, that it would just literally just break her heart. So they allowed me to stay with my great grandmother. And I had anger about that. I really did. I had anger. I was fine until I got old enough to realize that we were isolated in the country. And so I began to be mean towards my great grandmother because it was that anger there. I'm like, I'm lonely. We're out here, we're poor. I blamed her for my life and everything like that. But I remember one time my grandmother had an accident. And she said something to me that just really touched my heart. She was like, because it was kind of like my fault. And she was like, I won't tell anybody what happened to me, And I felt the love then. It melted some of that anger, but I carried a lot of anger when growing up. I really did.
Wow. So where was your anger coming from that was actually going towards her? Where did that come from?
It was coming from the fact my grandmother got dementia when I was like about 12 years old. So I was taking care of her. She would blame me for certain things. And when you have dementia, you kind of off and stuff. And I didn't understand. Then they had me taking care of my uncle who had dementia too. So I was a 12-year-old taking care of two adults. So the anger was there. It was the fact that I couldn't be a child like I wanted to, and we lived in the country. I didn't have playmates, and so it was just a lot of anger. And then when we moved up here when I was to Detroit when I was 14, my auntie, for a while I was out. I could be a kid, but I still had to sit in the house when she worked at night and watch my grandmother. But it got so bad she didn't want me to go outside. I couldn't sit on the porch. I had to sit in the house for 4 years and just take care of my great grandmother. So it was a lot of anger towards her. I felt like that she has stopped my life as a child.
Wow, that's a lot. That's a lot. you felt like, so, like they stole your childhood, you didn't get to grow up in the way that you were thinking or you expected to have been able to grow up as a child. So now you said, okay, you had to take care for them another 4 years after you guys left. So did you go off to college at the age of 18, or did you stay with the family because of the economic situation?
So at 18, I had moved in with my cousin. And then eventually I moved out on my own when I was 19. I was going to go away to college to get away from my family situation. But at the last minute, I changed my mind. And so I ended up moving out at 19, and I've been on my own ever since I was 19 years old.
Wow, wow, wow. So now you have became more stable and everything. Tell us about some of the things you were able then to achieve. That were you able to get married, start a family then? Like all the things unfold after that.
No, I've never been married. I didn't have kids. I just lived the single life. I was enjoying the single life. I after I moved out at 19, and my cousin at the time told me I could never go back. And so I made her my mind I would never go back. I worked 3 jobs at one time. I worked midnights and days at one time, and I just took care of myself all those years. And eventually I came to Christ. Actually, when I was 29, I actually came to Christ and my life changed. I forgave my family because I wasn't coming around them except for on holidays. So I forgave them. I released that pain that they had caused me. I had a few conversations with some of them because I really wanted to be right with God. I really did.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. So no, so okay, I get that you said no, that no, that didn't happen for you. You didn't get married or anything, but is marriage something that you would love to, to be able to experience? Is that something you would like to have?
Right now,
Mhm.
I'm a satisfied single. But but I had to pray to get here. I really did. It
Wow.
was a time when I first got saved, I was like, okay, Lord, my husband gonna come now in a year or two. But then it's been like 20 something years. And I'm like, okay, Lord, somehow I keep getting moved to the back of the husband line. And
Mm,
so I was so obsessed with wanting a husband. And when you go places and people prophesy, oh,
yeah.
your husband coming, I see him coming. And I'm like, he must be crawling from China because I've been waiting a real long time and I done had a lot of these prophecies. So eventually I went in my prayer closet. I
Mhm.
said, God, 2016, I said, God, look,
Mhm.
I'm tired of this being on my mind, this being on my heart. You already showed me, told me what type of husband that you're going to send me. I said, but God, I want to be satisfied in my singleness. I want to be happy in my singleness until he come. And it's like God began to deal with me and he took marriage off the plate, or he pushed it around on my plate. I'll put it like that. And so now I just been a satisfied single.
Wow. Wow, 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 wow. Okay, so you have shared a lot indeed, and I'm like I said, I know that the women have enjoyed your story. Such a phenomenal story, a story of strength. Seeing you overcome so many different obstacles in your life, and you're still standing. You're still fighting. You're still carrying on the baton, and that's just amazing. So before we go, if there was anything that that I didn't get to ask you, but there's something that is resting on your heart, and you're like, oh, I really want to tell them this. I want you to go ahead and share with them tonight.
What I wanted to share is that I came from the most humble beginnings. I started off like everybody else with two parents, but somewhere along the line, I ended up with one parent and then no parent. And so, even though I was emotionally abused and overlooked as a child, and just never, I don't even have one memory of anybody even telling me that I was pretty. But I had to pull myself up and had to keep encouraging myself through life. And eventually, when I connected with God, that's like the second part of my life began, the best part of my life. And if you're not connected with God, I'm telling you, you're going to struggle. That trauma is not going to get healed. It wasn't until I connected with God that I got healed. So I just encourage you to get a relationship with God. And if you have one, don't be lukewarm about it, be hot about it.
Amazing. I love it. I love it. So, Dr. Karron, tell us where we can find you for those individuals who are like, "Ooh, I love that shirt. I need to get myself one of them. I want to find out more about what you're doing with the Ruby Girl brand." Just tell them where they're able to find you online.
They can find me at rubygirl.net. You can find me on Facebook. You can find it's Karron Dodd dash Ruby Girl, or go to my personal page, which is Karron Dodd. As you see, my first name is spelled different, Karron. So you can find me on Facebook. You can also find me on Instagram. You can look up Ruby Girl and you'll see his designs, but it'll come up as Ruby Girl. I'm on there too. But listen, if you go to my website and use the word king, you can get a 20% discount off the t-shirts.
That's amazing. Guys, listen, don't let this pass you by. Go right ahead right now and make sure you use that so you get that 20% off. Go ahead and do that now. Dr. Karron, thank you so much for sharing with us tonight. You know, it's been an amazing time here, just hearing your story of triumph, your story of power, you know, seeing you just overcome obstacle after obstacle. And there's no doubt that you have been graced for the race, you know. It's just amazing. It's been amazing. It's been an amazing time here. So, ladies, thank you so much for tuning in tonight. It's been a pleasure having you here as our audience. Make sure if you have not done this already, go ahead and like this page. Go ahead and subscribe to this channel. Go ahead and comment below and let us know your thoughts. Let us know what you think about, you know, Dr. Karron's interview here tonight. Her sharing her story with us. Let us know what you think. And of course, share this video with a friend. And we look forward to seeing you on our next episode as we continue the series of Battered Bruised, Not Broken. You guys have an amazing night and we'll talk very soon. Goodbye.